Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to Jen's Books. I think I've gone on record before saying I have a problem. I know I have a problem. My husband knows I have a problem. The groaning bookshelves around the house and piles of books know I have a problem. It's no secret I have a problem with buying books. But over the last few months, what I have tried to do is find ways to save a little bit of money. So I get lots of books from the library, which you'll have seen me talk about hauls before. And I think I'm due a library haul again soon. And I also get a lot of second-hand books. And then I also get a lot of the sort of 99p bargain books on Kindle. And actually, if you do have a Kindle, it's worth keeping an eye out because they have some really good top name books that appear suddenly for 99p for a limited time. So I do try and find other ways to try and keep the price down. The library is amazing and is always my first choice unless there are specific books that I'm really wanting to read, and then I might go online and see what I can find in charity shops. So today is a haul of book bargains, almost book bargains, but not all of them, but most of them are. So the first one I've picked up is actually a library book. So this is on my list to read from the library, which is The Girl with the Louding Voice by Abby Dare. And I have seen this book talked about before, but I don't know a whole lot about it. It says on the back, as a third wife in a small Nigerian village, 14-year-old Adoni is expected to fade into silence, but Adoni will not keep quiet. She's smart, funny and curious, with an infectiously joyful spirit, and despite adversity awaiting at her every turn, she's set on getting an education no matter the cost. Determined not to settle for her fate, Adoni embarks on a journey from her village to the wealthy enclaves of Lagos, a journey that will change her life, and if you listen carefully, possibly yours. So I was sold by the name, the name of the book. I thought it was just fantastic, and that beautiful bright cover. So I am looking forward to reading that one, and that is on my list. And it'll be quite high up on the list because it's a library book and I want to get it back so other people can enjoy it too. Next, we have Miriam Toe's A Complicated Kindness, and this was a book that was recommended to me by one of my colleagues who's another lecturer in creative writing. It says Naomi Nicol lives with her father Ray in East Village, a small Mennonite town in Manitoba. She dreams of escaping to the big city, but since her mother and sister left home, it's hard to imagine leaving her father behind. As she begins to piece together the story behind her mother's disappearance, she finds herself on a direct collision course with the town's minister, her Uncle Hans, otherwise known as the Mouth. With fierce originality and brilliance, Miriam Toews takes us straight to the centre of Naomi's world and the complicated kindness at the heart of family life. So I really don't know much about it. And do you know what? I quite like picking up books when I don't know much about them. One, I've got no sort of expectations and it just feels like a surprise. You're not sure what you're going to, going to be reading. What I would say is obviously, with any of these books, I'm just one person, it's just my opinion, and you'll get an idea of the kind of things I like to read by my reviews. So if you disagree with me completely, that's absolutely fine. The wonderful thing about literature is there is so much out there, there's so much for everybody, and I love to know what your thoughts are about the books I'm reviewing and other things that you're reading as well. So after reading The Drowned World recently, I then bought a sort of battered version of Crash by J.G. Ballard. And it says on the back of this, the cult status of Crash even has intensified since its original publication in 1973, making it a classic of underground literature. In this hallucinatory novel, the car provides the hellish tableau in which Vaughn, a TV scientist turned nightmare angel of the highways, experiments with erotic atrocities among crash victims, each more sinister than the last. I have a feeling this was a film 15 years ago, 20 years ago, something like that won Oscars. But I don't know much about it. I've not watched the film, I've not read the book, but I know I like J.G. Ballard, so I'm enjoying giving that one a go, although it does sound bizarre. Next, I spoke in my last video about how to sell a haunted house by Grady Hendrix, which was the first book I'd read by him. and I enjoyed it so much I went a little bit crazy and found some secondhand versions of some of his other books. So we've got Horror Store, and this grabbed me straight away. It's basically a horror story set in an IKEA. So I don't know anything about it other than that. What I do really love about this book is it's kind of set out like a catalogue from the outside, and even as you go through the book, there are sort of images of furniture and buildings and things within it. So I don't know much about it. I think might have been his first novel, but I'm really intrigued as to find out. I mean, who doesn't want to read a book about a haunted IKEA? I mean, what's not to love about that? It's just so bizarre. And what I also really love, if you do pick up his books, look at his author photos. I saw his author photo in the back of How to Sell a Haunted House, and I actually laughed. I think it just, if I ever write a novel and publish it, I want to base my photos on his. Just absolutely fantastic. And I've another one of his here as well, which is called My Best Friend's Exorcism. And this has got this really lovely 1980s VHS horror movie cover. And again, I know nothing about this. It says, high school sophomores Abby and Gretchen have been best friends since 4th grade. But after an evening of skinny dipping goes disastrously wrong, Gretchen begins to act different. She's moody, she's irritable like every other teenager. Sorry, just talking about my own experience here. And bizarre incidents keep happening whenever she's she's nearby. Abby's investigations lead us to some startling discoveries, and by the time their story reaches its terrifying conclusion, the fate of Abby and Gretchen will be determined by a single question. Is their friendship power enough to beat the devil? I mean, I have no idea what to expect. I have no idea. But I love the cover. Who doesn't want... Again, that beautiful 1980s VHS themed cover. It's a thing of gorgeousness. So I'm really looking forward to reading that one too. Another book that was recommended to me by one of my colleagues as a dystopian book that I hadn't heard of, but she recommended, was Marge Piercy, Woman on the Edge of Time. And I managed to pick this up for a steal, because it's secondhand. Let's have a look. Connie Ramos is 37, Mexican-American, a loving mother, now labelled child abuser, and a heroically sane woman now declared insane. Drugged, a helpless inmate of a mental hospital, she is offered only one way back to normality: participation in a mind control experiment using electronic implantations in the brain. But Connie is also a catcher, a natural telepath with the ability to enter a utopian future of ecological and social harmony. As the doctors close in, Connie realises she has a fight on her hands, a fight in which a future world and her own life are at stake. So, yeah, you know as much as I do now. But it was recommended to me, and I love recommendations, particularly dystopian recommendations, and particularly books that I've never heard of before. So I'm looking forward to reading that one. What else do we have in the bag? I did a video recently about books that are based on other artworks or previous plays from the past, and so I picked up this one called 1,000 Acres, and it's by Jane Smiley, and this is a retelling of King Lear. King Lear's a Shakespearean play that I don't know much about actually, so it'll be quite interesting. I know it's about a king and his daughters, but the back says, Larry Cook's farm is the largest in Zebulon County, Iowa, and a tribute to his hard work and single-mindedness. Proud and possessive, his sudden decision to retire and hand over the farm to his 3 daughters is disarmingly uncharacteristic. Ginny and Rose, the 2 eldest, are startled yet eager to accept, but Caroline, the youngest daughter, has misgivings. Immediately her father cuts her out. In 1,000 Acres, Jane Smiley transposes the King Lear story to the modern day, and in doing so once illuminates Shakespeare's original and subtly transforms it. The astonishing novel won both America's highest literary awards, the Pulitzer Prize for Fiction, and the National Book Critics Circle Award. So it's got pedigree, this one. Again, not one I'd ever heard of, though, I have to be honest, but I do like a book based on Shakespeare or, other stories from the past. I just find it really enjoyable to see how they're adapted in new versions. So that's that one. Next, another dystopian book. And I'm a bit disappointed about this because I thought it was going to be a thin book, and it isn't. It's a massive one. Battle Royale I've seen the film, didn't know it was a book, but it's a book, and it's written by Kaoshan Takami, and it has this beautiful cover of school children fighting to the death. I know a bit about this book. I've always sort of thought of it as a precursor to the Hunger Games. It's that kind of a vibe. It's a notorious high-octane thriller based on an irresistible premise. A class of junior high school students is taken to a deserted island where, as part of a ruthless authoritarian program, they are provided arms and forced to kill one another until only one survivor is left standing. So yeah, I mean, it's a Japanese novel. It's older than I'm not sure how old it is actually, but it's older than it's 1999, so it predates Hunger Games, I think. But it's just I quite enjoyed the film, and I fancied reading the book, but as I say, I didn't realise it was going to be that big. So we will get to it. We will get to it. And we have more. Next we have We Need to Do Something by Max Booth III. This is one that I came across just, you know, by luck. It's another kind of dystopian novel, and I think the idea is it's about a family in a really bad storm, and there's tornadoes, and the family get locked in a bathroom. All it says on the back is, a family on the verge of self-destruction finds themselves isolated in their bathroom during a tornado warning. And I do like books where people are restricted in their movements, when they're in a very small place, and it's sort of focusing on the interactions between the characters. So I don't know anything else about it other than that, but just thought it sounded interesting, and it's not too long. So yeah, I'll let you know what I make of that when I get to it. One more, Grady Hendrix, it's the last one, I promise, which is The Final Girl Support Group, which is one I had heard of. So I think this is probably the last one before How to Sell a Haunted House. It says, in horror movies, the final girl is the one who's left standing when the credits roll, the one who fought back, defeated the killer and avenged her friends, the one who emerges bloody but victorious. But after the sirens fade and the audience moves on, what happens to her? Lynette Tarkington survived a massacre 22 years ago, and it has defined every day of her life since, and she's not alone. For more than a decade, she's been meeting with 5 other final girls and their therapist in a support group for those who survived the unthinkable, putting their lives together piece by piece. That is until one of the women misses a meeting and Lynette's worst fears are realised. Someone knows about the group and is determined to take their lives apart piece by piece. Again, I'm assuming this is going to be funny. If it isn't, I'll let you know. But after reading How to Sell a Haunted House, I'm assuming that his work is all humour. I could be completely wrong, but I really enjoyed that that book so much. I've gone big. So if I don't enjoy those, I'll be complaining incessantly. We are getting a bit further now. One of the other places I sometimes go to looking for cheaper books, as well as Poundland, they have books as well, and sometimes they have decent ones. I go to the Works as well, and the Works sells quite a big variety of paperback books for less expense than you'll pay in other shops. So one of the books I've read quite a lot recently, it isn't something I would normally pick up, I'll be honest, but it's The Atlas 6 by Olivia Blake, and I've seen loads of people reading this. So I thought I would give it a go. It says 6 extraordinary magicians, 5 chances to win 1 secret society. Once a decade, the world's best magicians are invited to join the elite Alexandrian society. Its members enjoy a lifetime of power and access to ancient secrets, but only 5 places are offered. So after recruitment by the mysterious Atlas Blakey, the candidates must complete a rigorous year of arcane study. So I'm thinking it's probably dark academia, but I don't really know much about it. But it's about those 5 candidates. Libby Rhodes and Nico de Verona are inseparable enemies and cosmologists who can control matter with their minds, etc. So it's not a book that I would normally pick up, but I'd love to know if anybody's read this and what you made of it, and whether you think it's worth prioritising or want to put at the bottom of the bargain bin. Another one that I got from the Works was Taylor Jenkins' read One True Loves. I still haven't read The Return of, what's it called, Soto, the one about the tennis players. I've still not read that one, but apart from that, this is the only other book of hers that I've not read. I've found them all incredibly readable. The Seven Husbands of Hugo, Evelyn Hugo is in my opinion the best of the bunch, but I've enjoyed everything that I've read of hers. They're quite easy to read, quite breezy reads, quite interesting concepts. Such as I think it's Daisy and the Six, which is the one about the musical band. They're all quite unusual and all very different to one another, but they all exist in the same world, which I think is quite interesting in itself. But it says on the back, high school sweethearts Emma and Jessie move far away from home together, travelling the world, chasing every adventure, building a life of their own. 364 days after the wedding, Jesse's on a helicopter that goes missing mid-flight. Suddenly, he's gone. Years later, Emma is back in her hometown. She's grieved. She's learned to live again. She's fallen in love. At a dinner, oh my God, at family dinner one autumn evening, she receives a phone call from Jesse. So this is going on the top of my list straight away. Wow, that sounds really, really good. I'm already hooked just from reading the back. So the next book is a bargain because it's one that I had already on my shelf and hadn't read. And it's Walk the Blue Fields by Claire Keegan. I've mentioned Claire Keegan. I've read a couple of her novels recently. This is a collection of short stories, and I've had it for ages. It's actually a second collection of short stories. The first one is Antarctica. Don't know a huge amount about it. When was it published? It's 2007, 2008, so it predates Foster. But I'm really looking forward to reading this because she clearly knows short form. Her novellas are outstanding, so I'm guessing her short stories are always also going to be amazing. So this is one that I pulled off the shelf, so I already owned it, so it's from my TBR really, but I pulled it out because I wanted to make sure it was sort of high up on the list to read. Next we have Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. Again, not one I know very much about, but one I have seen around. Welcome to the Ninth House. Galaxy Alex Stern is the most unlikely member of Yale's freshman class, so it's another dark academia. A dropout and sole survivor of a horrific unsolved crime, Alex was hoping for a fresh start, but her free ride comes with a catch. She has been tasked with monitoring Yale's secret societies, notorious haunts of the rich and powerful. There's something about this that reminds me of the book What We Do to Our Friends. It's probably completely different, but something about the premise, somebody going to university, trying to have a fresh start, and then it all goes crazy. The societies are far more sinister and extraordinary than anyone ever imagined. They tamper with forbidden magic, they raise the dead, and sometimes they prey on the living. So again, not one that I would normally pick up, but it was a bit of a bargain. And again, it's one that I've seen quite a few people reading, so I thought it was worth having a go. Don't worry, we're nearly done. There's one more. I'll finish off with my second-hand books first, and it's Animals People by Indra Sinha. And this is one that I was recommended to me at the conference I went to recently, where there was a lot of talk about dystopian and utopian fiction, different lives. And this one isn't actually really, I don't think it's a dystopian novel, but it reminded me of some of the other areas that I've been researching recently for my PhD, so it sounded really interesting. Ever since he can remember, Animal, which is the little boy's name, has gone on all fours, the catastrophic result of what happened on that night when, thanks to an American chemical company, the apocalypse visited his slum. And that is a true event that actually happened. There was some sort of gas leak and a whole village was decimated. It was really, really terrible. So it's based on real life events. Now not yet 20, he leads a hand-to-mouth existence with his dog Jara and a crazy old nun called Ma Francie, and spends his nights wondering what it must be like to get laid. When a young American doctor, Ellie Barber, comes to town to open up a free clinic, Animal plunges into a web of intrigue, scams and plots with the unabashed aim of turning events to his own advantage. So it's the premise of this one that intrigued me, the link to those events, those awful events that happened all that time ago. But yeah, I'm interested in that. That sounds good, and it was recommended to me again by someone who knows a lot about literature and thought that I would enjoy it. Right, I've only got 2 books left. These 2 weren't in the sale, and they weren't from the works either, but they were calling to me, and I thought that I should buy them. One of them is Call Me By Your Name by Andre Asiman. And this is the book. You may have heard about this before. It's been all over the place. And I picked up this copy in a well-known bookstore on the high street. During a restless summer on the Italian Riviera, a powerful romance blooms between 17-year-old Elio and his father's house guest, Oliver. Unrelenting currents of obsession and fear, fascination and desire threaten to overwhelm the lovers, who at first feign indifference to the charge between them. What grows from the depths of their souls is a romance of scarcely 6 weeks' duration, and an experience that marks them for a lifetime. For what the two discover on the Riviera and during a sultry evening in Rome is the one thing they both already fear that they may never truly find again: total intimacy. So it's about 2 young men falling in love for the first time, and it just sounds awesome and tasty and delicious and wonderful. So I'm looking forward to reading that. I've heard good things about it, and yeah, I'm looking forward to that. And last of all, this is another book that was not in the sale, although as you'll see the sticker says it was £2 off, so it was almost in the sale. Is that okay? Is that good enough? Let me off. And it's in Memoriam by Alice Wynne, and this is another one that you might have seen all over the place. It's just come out, and basically it's a World War One story, and it's about 2 soldiers who fall in love. It says, in 1914, war feels far away in Henry Gaunt, Sidney Elwood and the rest of their classmates, safely ensconced in their idyllic boarding school in the English countryside. At 17, they're too young to enlist, and anyway, Gaunt is busy fighting his own private battle, an all-consuming infatuation with his best friend, the dreamy, poetic Elwood, not having a clue that Elwood is in love with him and always has been. When Gaunt's German mother asks him to enlist in the British Army to protect the family from anti-German attacks, Gaunt signs up immediately, relieved to escape his overwhelming feelings for Elwood. The front is horrific, of course, and although Gaunt tries to dissuade Elwood from following him to the battlefield, Elwood soon rushes to join him. Oh, it says devastating tragedy, so I'm thinking this is one that I probably need a hanky for. But it just, the front's really attractive, I think, as well, and just the premise. And I love things that give us an insight into war times as well. It just feels like a different world, and yeah, I think it's going to be an emotional roller coaster, that one. But yeah, that one wasn't in the sale. So that's my haul for March, and I think probably, sorry, April and March probably. There's so many books, don't need any more books, but I will be doing a library haul at some point as well in the next few weeks, particularly as my reading is just going so fast and getting through so many books. I need plenty to pick from, but if there are any of those that I've mentioned in this video that you think I should focus on, or that you'd be interested in knowing my thoughts on, let me know. And if you like this video, please do like it. Please do subscribe and follow the rest of the journey for this year at least, while I track my reading. I'm making myself accountable to you. So you're the ones that know what I'm reading and my thoughts on those recommendations and other general recommendations as well. So thanks again for watching. Have a fantastic week, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.